You and I probably have a lot in common. I'm a mom. I work hard to provide for my family. I have goals and dreams, things I'm good at and things I wish I did better. A few years ago, I was on a treadmill. I think most of us find ourselves there at one time or another. We find ourselves repeating the same old habits and patterns, not really going anywhere. And maybe the treadmill we're on isn't even ours. Maybe it's made up of the expectations of other people. At a critical time in my life, I had a couple of conversations that made me hit the big red stop button on the treadmill. Then I did something revolutionary. I stepped off. I looked around at my life and asked myself, is this what I really want? Some people would call that a midlife crisis, but I didn't radically change my clothing style or buy a sports car. Instead, I started making small changes to my habits and routines. What I noticed was that one small change led to another, and over time, the difference was revolutionary. I think most people define midlife as a certain age, but maybe that's just the time when we take what was given to us in the beginning of our lives and decide to mold it into what we want for us, and not for anyone else. You can make small changes that are revolutionary too, like maybe listening to a new podcast. It's just one small thing, but it also might just be revolutionary. Well, hello, beautiful humans. Happy Sunday. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Hopefully you're coming here after having just watched the episode where Jenny Gage told her story of surviving domestic violence and creating a successful TikTok channel, and then going through mental health crisis and making the decision to privatize and step away from social media, and then subsequently being dragged by a faithful Mormon podcast for seemingly absolutely no reason whatsoever. If you haven't watched it yet, please go over and take a listen. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel for deconstructing Mormonism and toxic family systems. It's on that one, and it's also on a new playlist that I created called Exposing Secrets, or Secrets Exposed, I believe is what it's called. Hi there, Townswife Susan. I always have to say hi. It brings a smile to my face to see your username in my chat. People that I know in person always have to get a virtual shout out. So I hope that you'll go and check out those two playlists. The one about deconstructing Mormonism and family systems focuses, of course, a lot on my exit from the Mormon church, which happened gradually over the course of years, but sped up very quickly at the end. And I ended up going down a rabbit hole of research, and I came out 3 days later and went, oh my gosh, I have to leave. I'm in a cult. It was a really hard, horrible, heartbreaking time for me. In the future, at some point, I'm going to break out this bad boy, probably over on my Patreon. This is my Mormon journal from, when does it start? It's one of my Mormon journals. I have many. It started when I graduated from the University of Texas in 1999. And ironically enough, this journal, this particular one, it was the first one that I had like as a young Mormon mom. It was the first like formal one. All the rest of my Mormon journals they kind of look like this. They're just like notebooks. This is the first like hardcover one that I had. And I didn't realize this until I opened it right now, that this was a gift from my Uncle Rex and his first wife when I graduated from college with my bachelor's degree. So that's kind of a funny little surprise for those of you who know my Uncle Rex, who has his own podcast that I don't listen to. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting Jenny. By the way, I'm going to I'm going to post Jenny's Venmo if you would like to support her. I know she has not asked me to do this, but given the fact that she is stepping away from YouTube, she privatized her her TikTok channel, which has over 400,000 followers, or I think it's 400,000 between the two platforms. She did not ask me to do this, but she has stepped away from YouTube, and of course she's going to lose some income for that. So if you have the means to support her financially and you found her message to be helpful, I know she would probably appreciate a little boost. Thanks for being here. I wanted to just come on here and give a little bit of air to what we were talking about earlier and to update you on some personal things. I know it's been a while. I probably should do this as a members only, but it's whatever. So many people have asked me. I've had so many things going on in my life the last month. That's been crazy. And I haven't had a chance to really just catch up with you guys. I haven't done just a live hangout in such a long time. So anyway, I'll do a little bit of a personal catch up and then we can talk about some other things. But the most important thing I wanted to talk about today is that Jenny's story is a story of survival and a story of hope for other survivors of domestic violence. She has crawled her way and clawed her way out of an abusive marriage, and she's done it largely on her own with no support from her family. I believe she said that her dad has left the church, but her mom, she does a lot of content regarding the hate that she's gotten from her own mother. She shows the letters that her mother has sent her, and she even shows, she sent me the screenshot of the letter that her ex sent her apologizing for abusing her. So I've seen the receipts, and I listened to a portion of the Ward Radio episode that the women did, and I found it despicable. And they owe her an apology. And that's the bottom line. They owe her an apology, because even when we disagree, and this is something I've been trying to talk about for the longest time, probably since the 2016 election, even when we disagree, we can do so with kindness and civility. We can do so with an open mind and an open heart. We can do so in a way that doesn't demean or dehumanize other people. There's absolutely no reason for someone to throw hate out towards someone just because they disagree with you. I know for a fact that plenty of us here in this chat right now probably disagree on a wide variety of issues, and that's okay. It's okay for us to have different opinions. And Gail C., no, I am not talking about Jen Camp. I'm talking about Jenny Gage. Jen Camp is another issue entirely. Maybe I'll do something on that at some point. I just haven't felt like that was my area, really, to put my opinion out there. It's not something I witnessed firsthand. Jenny, on the other hand, I know her personally just because we've been on a couple of shows together and we've texted together. And I really appreciate her and love her and love what she is putting out there into this space for people. But the deal for me is that I do not advocate in any way throwing hatred towards somebody just because we disagree on something. And even when it's something as big to the Ward Radio people, their religion is their entire life. That is, there is nothing else in their life but their religion. And so to them, when you say negative things about their religion, it feels very personal. It feels to them like people are attacking them. When someone says negative things about the church or even just shares their experiences that were less than stellar, they feel like it is a personal attack. And that's not the case. I often say on this channel, I have so many people that I love and care about that are faithful, believing LDS members. And I know so many people in the church who are wonderful, kind, loving people who are just trying to do the best that they can. So while I have strong opinions about the LDS Church, and especially the leadership of the church, and especially the policies that the leadership puts out there, I'm never going to come out and vilify an individual member unless they are harming other people. If they're harming other people, then they're fair game, in my opinion. And the Word Radio people, even though the Word Radio people have harmed Jenny, they've harmed her mental health, and they've harmed her online business, frankly, I'm still not going to say negative personal things about the Word Radio people. I'll say negative things about their podcast. I'll say negative things about their stance, but I'm not going to sit here and attack their appearance or their intelligence or any of those other things, because that's not really what it's about. What it's about is that they are in a system that they believe in, and they are hatefully and hurtfully attacking people who don't believe the same as they do. You guys can call them names in chat if you want to, and sometimes it's kind of funny, and I'll snarkily laugh along with you. But Joe Neal says, like Lori. Yeah, so I mean, Lori's fair game. She is a convicted child killer, so I don't feel bad about dragging Lori. But I'm going to do my best to tear down systems and not people. And that's all I'm asking for. And what I'm asking for from Ward Radio, if they should happen to see this, if anybody happens to share a clip with them or share the link and they actually watch for this long, then what I'm asking for from Ward Radio is for them to apologize. Ward Radio, what you did is you took advantage of a woman who is a survivor of abuse, and you did it in a public forum, and you did it for likes, and you did it for clicks. You used her for your platform. And that is not Christ-like, it's not kind, and it certainly isn't in keeping with the tenets of your faith, which I know very well because I was a faithful, card-carrying, temple recommend-holding member for 45 years of my life. Okay, so the temple recommend didn't come until I was an adult, whatever. But I'm a 7th-generation Mormon. I was raised in the church, and I was faithful in the church until I started researching why it is that there was a priesthood ban on Black people not receiving the priesthood and not receiving their temple blessings. Because if you'll recall correctly, according to Mormon history, Joseph Smith did ordain at least 2 Black men. Elijah Abel was one of those. And Elijah Abel, in turn, ordained 2 of his sons, at least 2 of his sons, if not 3. And it really was never a policy or doctrine that Black people should not receive the priesthood. It was just it was just Brigham Young projecting his racism into church policy. If you'll recall, there was never a revelation that said that Black people should not receive the priesthood. It was just something that Brigham Young decided to start doing. Now, some people are going to say, well, he was the prophet. If he made a decision at the time, he was speaking as a prophet, not as a man. I'm sorry, no. Did that come as a revelation that was announced in General Conference? Is it part of the canonical scripture of Mormonism? No, it's really not. So anyway, I started researching that, and I realized that, among other things, made me start understanding how Mormonism was actually came to be. And in my opinion, Joseph Smith manufactured this religion. And I think he did it with good intentions. I think he was trying to solve some of the religious problems or the gaps in religion that he saw. I think he was trying to comfort his mother over the death of his brother. I think he was trying to, at first, really just be someone who could comfort people over things they didn't understand. And he sort of had to, the first time that he had a vision, the first record of that vision just says that he saw the Lord and his sins were forgiven him. It wasn't that he saw God in Jesus Christ. It wasn't that they told him that none of the churches were correct. It was just that he saw the Lord, and the Lord told him that his sins were forgiven him. And if that was a dream, it's plausible that could have happened. Absolutely. But it didn't give him license to go out and start his own church. And I don't really believe that he saw Jesus and God and that they spoke to him and told him none of the churches were correct. So, and even the church admits on their own website in the gospel topic essays, they talk about how many different versions of the first vision there are. And so even the church leadership admits that the first time Joseph Smith wrote down his first vision, that it was just the Lord and just telling him his sins were forgiven him, and not the video that they play in the visitor centers around the world. Or you can also see them here on YouTube if you really want to. So anyway, that's what led to me finally, that research that I did. I went down a rabbit hole for about 3 days, and I read a whole bunch of scholarly articles and source documents and journal entries and all kinds of things, and just basically got all of my questions answered, all of the things that had been sitting on my shelf for so long. I went and researched the answers to all of those questions, and I looked at historical documents, not at what the church tells me about those things. And I realized, I think I've said this before, that in my last job, part of my job description was to research fraud. And that's kind of funny for a lot of different reasons, but it's a rabbit hole for another day. Anyway, in my job, when I was researching different documents and transactions and everything, I always looked for several different sources. And I never just took it at face value about whatever it was that people gave me or told me. I always went out on my own and looked at other things. And I realized I had never done that with the church. I just believed everything that was told to me. So that was the reason that I started doing that research, because I was writing my book and I was like, hey, I really need to be looking at some documents that are out there that aren't just put out by the church. So I'm going to share this comment by Maven. Megan and I on Latter Daily Digest discussed Gen Camp versus victim allegations. It's the one titled something like Behind the Scenes at Mormon Stories. And I'm glad that you reminded me of that, Maven, because I couldn't remember the name of it. So if you want to know about Gen Camp, that's a good episode to look at. Gen Camp is a former employee of the Mormon Stories podcast, and Maven is a current employee of the Mormon Stories podcast, so she would know. And I really appreciate you putting that out there. So thank you. For those of you who are just joining us, this is Jenny Gage's Venmo. She did not ask me to put this up here, but I did it anyway because after the Ward Radio debacle, after Ward Radio basically attacked her and vilified her, she actually had privatized her TikTok already. She had taken down, she decided not to make content anymore already. And for some reason, Ward Radio decided to kick her while she was down. So I know that that's going to cost her some income. And if you can financially support her, that would be awesome. Eliza, you and I should talk at some point because a lot of what I did had to do with preventing money laundering, and it was crazy and wild. I actually have an episode that I owe you guys. I've been talking about for a really long time, but freaking Lori keeps filing freaking motions, and I've been having to cover that instead of what I've had this story that I've been getting ready. But I want to address this. North Wildings, no. Nobody from Mormon Stories podcast is attacking Jenny. No. The podcast attacking Jenny is called Ward Radio. It is a faithful LDS podcast. These are actual true believing Mormons right now. And nobody from Mormon Stories is attacking Jenny. I believe that they are friendly with each other. Jewel Gazer, this is correct. RFM has great episodes on Gen Camp. RFM is an attorney, and he actually reads a lot of the legal documents. I think Jen Camp even tried to get RFM disbarred at some point, filed a bar complaint against him, and it's just pretty funny. SP Mama, I'm so sorry. This is the worst, trying to figure this out. I've had these kinds of annoying things happen as well. I wish you the best. I hope that it goes well. Joe Neal lives within walking distance of a temple here in Phoenix. Well, I guarantee you that I've been to that temple, if not through it, because I think the last time that I visited Phoenix for family reasons, I want to say it was probably 2015, 16, something like that. One of my cousins was getting married, and my girls and I went and took a bunch of pictures in front of the temples there in Phoenix. And I won't share them because my daughters, I don't think they would want me to share their personal pictures. So I try not to do that to my kids. But Joe, I've probably been close to your house. That's all I'm saying. Plus, I was there for the trial. Lori's motions could be called her movements. In fact, that's what I want to call them from now on. Lori's bowel movements that she puts on paper and submits to the court. Yeah, Katie Ash, unfortunately, they keep announcing all these temples. But what's really funny is that they're building the temples that they are announcing are not getting built in a timely manner. And I think some of it has to do with local regulations, like we saw in Fairview, Texas, where they had to literally fight with the town council because their spire was too big. They didn't want anybody to criticize the length of their spire on top of the temple. And so they submitted plans for a temple with a very, very big, long spire. And the town council said, no, that doesn't work with our zoning regulations. And the church basically just bullied them for months and months and months and months and threatened to sue them because they wouldn't let the spire be the height that they wanted it to. So they asked the Mormon church to reduce the length of the temple spire, and they didn't want to do it. They said it's necessary to our worship. And the town council said, no, it's not. Actually, there were a lot of people who came in and said, no, it's not. In fact, Nemo the Mormon flew all the way from jolly old England to say, I'm a true believing member, and I can tell you that the length of the spire has nothing to do with the worship. In fact, he quoted some of the general authorities saying that those very words. And the town council eventually voted against it. The church did submit a reduced height. I'm using length on purpose, guys. And then I guess the town council ended up approving that reduced length. And yes, thank you. The temples in Mesa and Tucson don't have a spire. There's one in Japan, no spire. The one in Manhattan, no spire. So it's, thank you for this. It's wrong to criticize the height of a temple spire, even if the criticism is true. I agree with you. Is it? I don't know very much about Freemasonry, just that Mormons copied it. That's the only thing I know. We were talking about temples in churches. It's not supposed to matter, okay? But yes, LDS has a spire obsession, shall we say, and they don't like to be told how long their spire is allowed to be. So there's that. All right. So thank you for your support of Jenny. Thank you for watching the episode. If you haven't done so already, please put it on your watch later playlist and save it. It's a couple of hours long. I get it. It's long. So please take your time with it, especially if you are a DV survivor or if you have any sort of trigger issue in your past related to abuse. it does go into some of the abuse, although we don't talk about it in detail, but it does get mentioned enough that it could be problematic for some people. So I appreciate you supporting Jenny. People in the chat during the live were asking how they can help. And one of the ways that you can help is, you can follow Jenny still here on YouTube. She's not going to be creating content anymore, I believe, but if you leave her positive comments and you watch her YouTube videos, she will still get revenue from that, I believe. And then in addition, Ward Radio has a website where they welcome comments. I don't want people to harass those creators. That's not my intent at all. In fact, I said that in the description of the original video, and I'm calling for it again here. Please don't harass Word Radio creators. However, they do have a website where they welcome comments. You're welcome to leave them a comment. You're welcome to go on the videos, on the 2 videos that they did on Jenny, and put a thumbs down on it, because that does send a message. You're welcome to comment on their video that you don't appreciate them harassing other creators. I said this in the video on the live. I went down to Ward Radio's, the videos that they made. And I read through some of the comments, and some of their own faithful LDS members were calling on them to take the video down. You can also report the video as harassment. You can say that it's bullying someone else. And if enough people do that, YouTube will ask them, or YouTube will actually just take the video down. They will demonetize it. And so I don't want you to harass the creators, Joe Neal, but I do advocate for reporting hateful content on YouTube. That's all I'm going to say. You definitely can make a report that it is harassment. I believe it really is harassment. Listen, Jenny is a survivor of abuse, and she went and took down her social media stuff and privatized her TikTok, and then one of the creators from Ward Radio, who is the wife of one of the main people that founded it, I think, commented on Jenny's video saying that she was stepping away from social media, and said, "Good for you. Life take 3. I fully support you in everything that you do." In fact, I'll read it to you because I don't want to paraphrase. For those of you who have seen me on Web Sleuths, you will know what that's about. Okay. Charlotte Barnes. Charlotte Barnes is one of the hosts of Ward Radio. At Charlotte Barnes 29, I believe, is her username. And she says, "Life take 3 begins. I wish you the best as you move forward into your future and leave your past behind." And then Charlotte Barnes, after leaving that comment, went to her colleagues at Ward Radio and said, "Wouldn't it be fun if we did a video harassing this creator?" And they did a video, and then the men of Ward Radio came in and did a second video the next day. This was only 5 and 6 days ago, guys. It was abhorrent. It was cruel. I even went as far as to call it terrorism, because then Culch, who I love, Cultural Hall, did a video where he defended Jenny, and somebody in the comments made an account with his real first and last name and doxed him, and then started harassing him and his wife. And so he made the decision to take his channel down and step away from social media, which is a travesty, because those of you who don't know, Culch's content is freaking hilarious. And we need more of that in this space too. So Ward Radio, Scared Llama. I'm just reading comments, you guys. That's all I'm doing. Ward Radio is a bunch of people who peaked in high school. That's funny. Yes, it is ridiculous and immature and horrible. And I agree, Jeff Jeffries. What even is Word Radio? They're a faithful Mormon podcast and radio show. And what they claim to be is not who they actually are. They claim to be a space that invites, truth telling. And I read it in the video with Jenny, and what they say on their intro is just not true because I've consumed some of their content. In fact, I'm going to play a little something for you guys right now. This is a surprise. So Kulch asked me to come on his show with Jenny, and we did a show where we were talking about another faithful LDS content creator who said some misogynistic things, and we were addressing his comments and his apology and Word Radio's reaction. They were mad at this guy for apologizing for his misogynistic comments. Word Radio was mad at a faithful Mormon who realized that he said some hurtful things and apologized for it. And so I watched about 10 minutes of the Word Radio video in preparation for that podcast. And I was so confused because they use all of this weird in-speak and all of these words that don't make any sense to me. And so I had to call Kulch and say, okay, I'm going to need a vocabulary lesson. And I recorded the call. Kulch knew that I was recording it for my channel. And I'm going to play it for you right now so that you can hear some of the words that Word Radio uses. This is a surprise. Nobody knew I was going to do this, not even me. I just thought, it would be fun to do. But it's going to take me a second to get it pulled up. So thank you for your patience while I go and look at it. I don't know if it's going to break the internet for me to do this, but I'm going to try. Let me go to my library and see if I have it on there. Oh, yes, I do. Yay, here it is. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to share my screen. Am I going to pop into Lori part 3? So I do plan to go to Phoenix for the verdict and the sentencing in Lori's third trial for conspiracy against Brandon Boudreaux. But I will be reporting live from this comfy chair right here. I will not be going to Phoenix, partially because my daughter's last day of school is this coming Thursday. When they do, they're doing jury selection that day. And when I went to Phoenix for the last trial, it was not good for my mental health. It was not good for my relationship. It was not good for my kids. It was good for my podcast, but that was all. So I'm going to stay here. I'm going to report from here. And I don't think the reporting will be any less valuable than it was when I was there in person, but I do want to go in person for the verdict and the sentencing. So that is important. It's possible that I might drive and take my daughter with me. We'll see. It just depends. It depends on lots of different things. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can hear. It's just a few minutes long, so you can hear what I had to do to prepare to be on a show where I talked about Word Radio. All right, so this was my first time seeing anything Word Radio related, and I'm very confused. Okay. Just in case I need to clarify later, I'll just say I'm on the phone with Kulch because Kulch, you watch Word Radio all the time, right?
I do.
Okay.
Frequently.
Okay, so I'm going to just need you to define some terms for me so that I can understand what the heck they're talking about.
The best I can. I speak pretty good Word Radio, but I'm not completely fluent.
Okay. Okay. Well, by the way, just so that you guys know, I recorded this while I was in my Airbnb in Phoenix during the trial, And this was after a day of court, as well as after my live streams and everything. So I don't look very put together, but this is just real life. So here we go. Let's try. We'll give it a try. Okay. What is weaponized empathy?
So they are in general very anti-empathy.
Okay.
They feel that people who are liberal, whether they're members or Democrats or people who are progressive or liberal, use empathy against people. So they use it almost in a violent way.
Okay,
to get what they want and to beat up on people.
So understanding the thoughts, feelings, and experiences of other people from their perspective is bad.
It depends on the circumstance and the person who's doing it.
Okay.
There's probably circumstances where they would say empathy is good. But usually if it's mostly if it was an active, faithful member of the church showing empathy, they would like it. But if it's a quote unquote woke scold,
okay, that's
using empathy.
That brings me right into my next question. What is a woke scold?
So you know the term woke.
I know,
which is,
yes.
Kind of colloquially used for people who are progressive.
Right.
They tend to get called woke.
People who care about other people, basically.
Right.
Okay.
So scold, I think, refers to like scolding people for inappropriate behavior. So people who are woke tend to be scolding the other side on their behavior. So I think that's just wrapped into a woke scold. It means you're woke and you get on other people for their behavior.
So when you want to scold someone for being woke, you call them a woke scold because they're scolding you.
You would be the woke. If you're scolding someone and you're woke, you are the woke scold.
Right.
So basically, it's just another way for Cardin to say that you're like a progressive leftist.
Okay, but isn't he scolding me when he calls me a woke scold?
He is, but he's not woke. So he cannot be a woke scold.
So he's an unwoke scold.
Yes.
So he's a sleeping scold.
Yes.
He's asleep.
Got it.
Scold. Okay, got it. Okay. All right. What is a spiritual terrorist?
Okay, so Cardin is well known for his hyperbole.
Okay.
He loves to make very small things into big, grand things.
Okay.
I don't know if it's on purpose or if it's just the way he kind of rolls.
Some grandiosity.
Yes, big time. Big time hyperbole guy. Likes to compare things to Nazis a lot. You'll hear that from him.
Okay.
But he basically says that anyone who's basically like attacking his religion, so anti-Mormons, ex-Mormons, they're spiritual terrorists because they're trying to use the gospel as a weapon against active members.
Against him. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, if I'm telling the truth about his religion and he doesn't like the truth, then I'm a spiritual terrorist.
Yeah, he would probably call you that.
Got it. Okay, cool. I think I now want to make a t-shirt that says spiritual terrorist and wear it proudly. Also, I might also put woke scold on there as well. I think that's great. Okay. What is a
woke scold spiritual terrorist?
Exactly. Yes. What is a crybully?
Bully is someone who tries to bully people, but you do it in a way where I think you're trying to get sympathy from other people while you bully. So you're kind of like playing a victim while you're bullying somebody else. Okay, so
if you're saying, for example, they're attacking my religion, that's a crybully.
That would be a crybully. I don't know if Cardin would call himself that, although the title might apply to him in some instances.
I think after listening to him for 16 minutes and 2 seconds, I can call him a crybully. Okay. What is a Boy Scout's Boy Scout?
Well, as you know, the church used to have Boy Scouts.
Obviously,
back in the day. So I think that just refers to because I think he called Jared Alverson a Boy Scout's Boy Scout.
Yes.
Meaning that he's just like a clean cut, goody two shoes, can't do anything wrong. You know, Boy Scouts kind of used to signify that you're just a really good person.
Yeah, you're like a decent, good person. Okay, so I'm just trying to think like, okay, if the Boy Scouts had a Boy Scout, I don't know. It's like, okay.
It's like the king. If the Boy Scouts had a king, that would probably be Jared Alverson.
Okay, got it.
So and I think he's calling him that to point out that of all the people to be, and I'm using quotation marks here, to be air quotes, to be attacked. It's a Boy Scout's Boy Scout.
Okay. So along the same lines, what is OBS podcasting?
I don't know. OBS podcasting? I'm not sure if I heard that in the thing. Do you remember
So
what context it was
it's in
used?
the same description when he's describing Jared Halverson. He says he's a Boy Scout. He said this guy's program is like OBS podcasting and scriptures. I didn't know what that meant.
I don't know. I know Jared has a podcast that's called like Unshaken Faith.
Yes.
It's mostly just like come follow me stuff. So
Right.
maybe he's just referring to as just very, very church
Yeah.
oriented.
I just want to know what OBS stands for.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe I'll look that one up. Okay. I'll ask ChatGPT.
Okay.
Do you know who Luke Hansen is?
Yes, Luke Hansen is the guy that was in the white shirt and tie, slumped in his chair, that kind of looked like a little kid that was in the studio with Pardon.
Okay.
They wouldn't let him talk until the very end.
Yeah. So he said that Jared Halverson makes Luke Hansen look like a punk rocker.
Yeah, so Luke is he's very milquetoast.
Got it.
Luke, he's like he was a journalist major in college and worked for this student newspaper called the Cougar Chronicle. It's kind of like right wing.
I know it. Yeah.
Very anti woke.
Yeah.
But Luke is to his credit, he's a lot less hyperbolic and not as nutty as the other members of Ward Radio. So I think compared to them, he's very mellow.
Okay.
So I think he's saying, Luke's mellow. Jared is even more mellow than Luke is.
Got it. Okay. Well, I think I have a better understanding now. The episode is like another hour long, so I may have some more questions.
Okay.
But
do you have any questions? Have they let the girls speak yet? Do you have any questions about Brittany or Rachel, or want to know who they are?
I want to know why they sit by and allow, what's his name again? I forgot his name already. Cardin Ellis.
Pardon?
I want to know why they sit by and allow him to speak so vehemently against feminism. And it's why I understand now why so many women in the church don't identify as feminists, because this is how they get treated when they do. I think it's hard for me to watch women sit there and listen to him talk like this and not say anything. I would not be able to sit. In fact, I don't think Cardin and I could even have a conversation.
That's not bad, huh?
I would love to invite him on my show. I don't think he would come on my show, but I wonder how that would go, because I would have to say, excuse me, I'm sorry, please don't talk to me that way. Or talk about women that way.
You should invite him, because you'll see at the end of the episode, he basically calls out all the like Julie Hanks and Britt Hartley and says like, all the people we've called out, you are welcome on my show. We want you on my show anytime. He actually criticizes Julie for not going on more faithful podcasts. So, maybe he should put his money where his mouth is and come somewhere that's not technically a safe space for him.
That's true. And I'm a heathen, so I don't know if they would really want me. I know that Julie Hanks is still a member, so she technically still qualifies to be on their podcast. Have they ever had ex-Mos on their podcast before?
Yeah, they've had a couple, but they're usually, when they have an ex-Mormon on, it's someone who, although they are no longer a believer in the church, tend to lean a little bit more in the same political direction as those guys, so they still have that in common.
Okay, got it.
They especially like ex-Mormons who are critical of other ex-Mormons. You'll have those kind of people.
Okay. I can offer some criticism on that. There is some toxicity to the ex-Mormon culture sometimes. All right.
Sure. Well, but hey, going back to the women, because you were wondering how they can sit by. So Brittany, who was the girl in studio, she stands by because she's Cardin's wife.
Oh,
yeah,
got it.
So she's married to him. So she's been dealing with him for probably 10 plus years now.
I do not know how that woman is sober.
It's got to be a trip. And then the other woman, Rachel Patterson, she has a YouTube channel called Women in the Priesthood. She is very anti-feminist. She hates Julie Hanks and has done a couple hit pieces on her that are up on her channel. She's kind of in the same vein as like a Jacob Hansen, but the female version of him. Just very aggressive would be the word.
Aggressive.
Apologetic for her views and just,
unwilling to accept criticism. very critical of others, that kind of thing. Good, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that answers all my questions.
That's helpful.
Okay, guys, I think that's it. Just wanted to share that. I've been waiting for the opportune moment to share that, because I genuinely had no idea who these people were before I went and did that. So that is Ward Radio. That's who they are, and I don't know what else to say. But I will say this: I would go on Ward Radio if they wanted me to come on. I would be happy to have a conversation with them. I would also be happy to have any of the Ward Radio people come on my podcast as well, and have a respectful dialogue regarding the episodes that they put up, not just about Jenny, but about Maven, about Julie Hanks. I don't know who else they have dragged, because I don't pay attention to that stuff. But it would be an interesting discussion, I think. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I'd be happy to go on their podcast if they invited me. I would be kind and respectful, as I always am, to anyone who invites me on their podcast. And I would love to have them on this podcast as well to discuss those things. So that's what I'm going to say about that. I will do just a quick update and recap of things that are going on. The show that I've been wanting to do for a really long time is about another Mormon family who were arrested. The mom, dad, and two of the sons were arrested for importing crude oil into the United States from Mexico and paying cartels over $300 million worth of crude oil, which isn't as much as you would think it is. But I have a particular expertise in this area because my last job, I was helping to export oil and gas from the United States into Mexico. So I know exactly how they did it. I can tell you exactly how they did it. And I know exactly how they got caught and why. So that is an episode that's coming up. I've been doing some research. I've been waiting to hear back from some of my sources. Actually, two of my sources wanted to remain anonymous and confidential, and they have since recanted and said, I don't want you using my material, because they felt like the things that they told me could identify them. And even if I said that they were anonymous, so I've had to try and get some information in some other ways, and don't quite have a place to fill those gaps yet. But I do want to respect their anonymity. So that episode is coming up as soon as Lori stops filing motions. She filed a whole bunch of motions that we got this last week, including dismissal of her case several times. She asked for that, so I covered that. Hey, Kendall, good to see you. Kendall and I have a great episode up on his channel and mine, I think. Yes, we live streamed it both places. I think so. Anyway, that was a great episode. It was so much fun to talk with Kendall. And so here's what's going on in the Lori Daybell trial. They will have jury selection on Thursday and Friday. They think that they will have a jury seated by Friday afternoon, and then opening statements are scheduled for June 2nd. Again, I will be covering that trial in its entirety twice a day here from my comfy chair. And Kendall Christensen says, the episode that I did with Kendall will change your life or your money back. That is a money back guarantee. Anybody who paid money as a super chat during that episode, they will get it back if it doesn't change their lives. I don't know if we got any super chats or not, Kendall. Maven says, have you ever received a letter/email from LDS Mormon leaders, ward, stake, etc., up to the first presidency regarding a recent incident or court case? I have not. And the only thing that they said about Lori's case, so back when Julie Rowe got excommunicated, and Julie Rowe is one of Chad's contemporaries, back when she was excommunicated, the church released a letter about general a letter about energy healings, not participating in energy healings. And then when the Chad Daybell case came out, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, when Lori got arrested, and then subsequently Chad got arrested, the church put out a general statement saying that church leaders should not talk to prosecutors or law enforcement without first talking to the church attorneys. That was it. Zero else coming from Salt Lake about that case or about the excommunication of either Chad or Lori. Somebody leaked Chad's excommunication letter. That's the only reason that we know that he got excommunicated the day he was arrested. But other than that, nothing. And then Maven says, or was there perhaps a communication or counsel, whether written or over the pulpit, that seemed odd or out of place with no context about anything that might spread like wildfire? Did not. I did not, but Maven says that this is for Floodlit. Floodlit is asking for stories, and Floodlit is an organization that highlights SA, especially child SA within the Mormon Church, and they are an excellent organization. I highly recommend you go check them out, floodlit.org. I wrote my story on that platform, and I greatly appreciate what they are doing, shining a light on abuse in the LDS Church. So if anybody has an instance that you know of, if you've received a letter or an email from a LDS or Mormon leader regarding a recent incident or court case, please contact them. I know that there was a court case back in March here in San Antonio that I wasn't able to go to about an abuser here in town related to the church. And I want to cover that, but again, there's so many different things to cover and only so much time in the day. I'm only one person. I could really use some help, but at the moment, I am just squeaking by. So anyway, somebody else asked about another one. Oh, interesting. Katie Ash, you should totally contact floodlit.org. I know that they would appreciate that. Make Orwell fiction again. I agree. Can we please do that? Somebody asked, it's okay. Sarah asked, are you going to cover the Adelson's case someday? I am, because the Adelson family sounds a lot like my family, and I would like to do some reporting on that as well. I know that it's kind of in the middle of some things, and I'm not quite ready to deep dive into that until Lori's case is over, because it's all I can do. And Jewel Gazer asked Megan, did you remove yourself from the church rolls? I did, in fact, because I know that there are some people who like to quiet quit and just back away slowly and not tell anybody, but I'm not one of those people. And also, I am disgusted with the way that the LDS Church reports its membership numbers. Basically, if you don't legally remove your name from the records of the church, they will continue to count you as a member until you're 110 years old or until they are alerted of your passing. And I did not want my name affiliated with that organization anymore. So I printed out the form. I went to quitmormon.org. I printed out the form. I took it to a notary and had it signed. I sent it in certified mail, and I got an email response, as well as, did I get a written response? I think I just got an email response, and that was all. So it felt really good, and I was really grateful that I was able to do that. And when I left the church, I literally felt shame leave my body, and I have never been happier. I have never regretted it, not for a second. The only thing that I regret is that I didn't know sooner and I didn't leave sooner. That's the only thing I regret. Because right now, my life is happier than it's ever been. I'm no longer in an abusive marriage. I'm no longer in a coercive control situation. I'm no longer in a place where I feel like I have to subject myself to... I'm just so grateful that I no longer go into places where I'm not treated with kindness and respect. That's really what it is. That's all it is. I removed everything from my life that was abusive or oppressive, and I feel so much peace over that in my life. It's just peaceful. I get to be exactly who I am and not be ashamed about it, and really not care if anybody disagrees with the way that I'm living my life. I don't care. And it's a beautiful place to be. Wow, Kendall, you should like write poetry and stuff. You're so kind. And I love your thumbnail. It is, Mark Twain said, it's easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. And that is basically right there the reason why I don't have a job anymore. Boom. So anyway, thanks for being here, guys. Oh, some people were asking about personal stuff, so I'll cover a couple of things like that. When I got home from the trial, I basically collapsed. It was very, very taxing on me emotionally and physically. And I had a lot of repair to do when I got back. But there wasn't a whole lot of time for that because immediately afterwards, my daughter got married, and it was a beautiful day. She has a wonderful, lovely spouse. I enjoyed meeting his family. I actually had some decent interactions with my parents. We got to sit down and have a whole conversation about the trial, which I may go over at some point. What is interesting and funny to me is that my parents and I disagree on a lot of things, but one of the things we can't agree on is that the Cox family is effed up. So we had a good conversation about that. And then I got to reconnect with my brother and his family, with my nephews. My sister came into town, which I always love seeing my sister. There's never enough time for us to spend together, and her beautiful kids and her husband. And then my daughter left the day after. She left on her honeymoon to Greece. They had a wonderful time. They're back safely. And I spent a lot of time cleaning up and all of that stuff after the wedding, and like putting things back together, putting my house back together. And then I Eliza, this is funny. I still want to ask if Adam was at the wedding just because of Lori grilling him about Colby's. It was a small event. It was very small, little backyard wedding. And it was only really just immediate family. So we didn't really announce it to everyone. And anyway, it was lovely. And right after that, just 5 or 6, I can't remember. So you guys, it's all blurred together. She was married on the 29th. And on the 1st of May, I went to California to be with my grandbaby, my brand new grandbaby. And now I have 2 grandsons. One is 5, just turned 5, and the other one was just born at the very end of April. And I got there just at the right time. I was there for one day when my daughter took him in for a checkup with the pediatrician, and he ended up being admitted into the hospital. And so she and my son-in-law, sorry guys, too many thoughts going through my head and not enough ADHD medication in the world. They spent 2 days in the hospital with my grandbaby, and he is doing better. He had severe jaundice, but also they were concerned about some genetic issues. And we don't really have a whole lot of answers, but he seems to be doing really well. He is thriving and beautiful and wonderful. And hopefully I'll get to go see him again in another month or so. So after I got back from that visit, I have really just been focusing on trying to just continue to be consistent with my content. I put a lot of work into my episode about Barry Cox, and it has paid off. It's the first video of mine that has over 100,000 views. I'm very proud of the work that I did on that, and I'm very proud of the work I did on Jenny's video as well. And so I'm grateful to all of you who have watched it. I'm just watching a little bit of chat go by just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Joe Neal asking if I drink alcohol. As the Pope Catholic, yes, I do. I do enjoy some alcohol from time to time, responsibly. Ray Dunn, not yet. I only have 2 grandkids and I am 50, not 30. That would be hard to do. I sound like I'm from West Virginia? Really? That's confusing to me because I don't think I have an accent, a West Virginia one at least. Anyway, yeah, so I did my berry video. I'm working on some other videos. Of course, I binge watched Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and I've got 3 of those ready to. They need to be edited, but they're less important than what I was doing with Jenny today or yesterday. So anyway, somebody asked me somewhere back in the chat about things that were going on, and so that's why I'm off on this rabbit hole over here. And I forgot what they asked me. It was a personal thing. I just had a piano recital last Saturday, a week ago Saturday, and so I'll post some more piano videos on my Patreon. And I'm also going to be reading some things on my Patreon. Here's a new thing, you guys. I don't know if you know this, but one of my relatives wrote a book about my dad's family. This would be Lori's grandmother, our great grandmother, Lori and my great grandmother. So my dad's mom, her name is Noni, and Noni and my grandpa Press had 4 kids: Janice, my dad, Rex. They have another sister, and then Rex. And one of my great uncles wrote a book about growing up with my great grandmother, Noni's mom. And he called it Crazy Women in the Rafters. And I read it a long time ago, and it was interesting and kind of funny, but I think it'd be fun to read it again in this new context of this family. Thanks for being here, Maven. Good to see you. And thank you, Joe. This is really kind of you. I really would like to cover other trials. I really appreciate the idea of digging into the evidence analytically and giving a different perspective on it. So I do want to do this for other trials, but I don't want to necessarily be in person for those. I think being there in person, maybe on the first day or so, is important. But beyond that, I don't think I need to be there in person for everything. Grandma Noni, my grandma Noni did not kill anyone. She was a lovely, beautiful human being, as far as I know. I never met her because, she died when I was about 6 months old. So I never knew her, but I just know family stories about her. That's all, which could be not true, right? So not my grandma Noni. Maybe another Noni did. But Jules, I think about this all the time. In fact, I think about it often whenever I'm covering anything that Lori's doing. Whenever her evil infuriates me, I just like to think about the idea that she's locked up and I'm not. I get to enjoy my family and my life, and she doesn't. So, you know what? I would love to know about this Miss Greenbean. Rex talked about her sometime back. I can't remember. It's been so long. Anyway, so yeah, that's what's coming up. I've got lots of new stuff planned, and I'm doing a lot over on my Patreon. If you're able to financially support the channel, I always appreciate that. I have 2 chats over there that are free. One is just a general chat, and the other one is a Lori Vallow trial chat. And I usually post, my Patreon members usually get videos early release, as well as my members here usually get videos early release, as well as on Patreon, I also share cooking videos, singing videos, piano videos, and just general thoughts on things and stuff. So I appreciate all of the support that you guys give me, and thank you for being here, and thank you for all of your contributions to the channel. Please go support Jenny, and please go report Ward Radio, and be kind to yourself, and have a beautiful Sunday, second Saturday, as I like to call it. And please take care of yourself, and I will see you guys soon.